the next great personality covered by you in this book is Sir Ashutosh Mukherjee, who was there
Before
in 1864 to 1924.
before
And
we
you have particularly mentioned about Sir Ashutosh Mukherjee that in his death, the world had lost one of the commanding personalities who could have ruled an empire. Now, these are very, very heavy words. I would request that kindly bring out as to what were his sterling qualities due to which he is remembered even today, Sir Ashutosh Mukherjee.
coming to Sir Ashutosh, it's difficult where to begin and where to end. So great was the man. And I have the good fortune of being in close association with his family and descendants today.
Okay.
I have seen his palatial house on what is now Ashutosh Mukherjee Road, a house that was built by his father.
Ramaprasad was his son.
Ramaprasad was his second son. The first son is Justice Ramaprasad Mukherjee, who followed the father as Chief Justice of the Calcutta High Court, and it is his son, his youngest son, Justice Ashutosh Mukherjee, with whom I have very cordial may not be a very appropriate term for so elderly and respected a person. He is only 97 now,
He had
physically
headed
active.
Bombay High Court.
He headed Bombay High Court, he headed Calcutta High Court.
Okay.
Like Lawrence Jenkins,
Right. Okay.
he was Chief Justice in both.
Both chartered.
It is my proud privilege that I have known him for the last 42 years.
Indeed.
And
Okay.
we continue to be in touch. Even the day before yesterday, I spoke to him on the phone. But that's
Superb. Yes.
yeah. So Sir Ashutosh, from the beginning was something totally different. In fact, Palkiwala said, if greatness consists in the combination of character and intellect of the highest order, and is to be judged by the lasting value of work done and its impact on men and matters, that is greatness. Sir Ashutosh Mukherjee, by that reckoning, would be really great. But I would say that saying that Ashutosh Mukherjee was great is a gross understatement, because it's difficult to describe the man's versatility. And that was seen from the beginning, even as a young student. And his father, Dr. Gangaprasad Mukherjee, who happened to be one of the first earliest medical practitioners in Calcutta, Indians, nurtured him. In fact, he had a strict regimen even as a student. His diet was regulated, and the father had a table where the book would be at the best level. So the son had to stand and read. So that was the kind of discipline. And the son was, of course, extraordinary in every sense.
Yes.
You would be delighted to know that, of course, he was a mathematical prodigy.
Yes.
And even before he reached high school, he had pointed out mistakes in an arithmetic text to the author, which the author acknowledged and even gave him a small gift. But more than that, his theorems were published in international mathematical journals before he reached high school.
He later was the Vice Chancellor.
Yes, he did his. Just permit me to say a few more things about this great man. He had a master's in mathematics, he had a master's in physics, he had a master's in law, and then, of course, went on to get a doctorate in law. He had what is called Saraswati in Sanskrit, so he was a Sanskrit scholar too.
Yes.
All this, and then he assisted his senior, Sir Rashbihari Ghosh, in the revision of his law of mortgages. And at the age of 34, after getting his doctorate, Ashutosh Mukherjee himself was a Tagore Law professor. The Tagore Law professorship is considered the blue ribbon on the eastern horizon of jurisprudence. And Ashutosh Mukherjee, at the age of 34, delivered the Tagore Law lectures.
Okay.
You mentioned about his vice chancellorship. Yes. In those days, it was necessary for someone to be a vice chancellor to be a judge.
Okay.
Gurudev Tagore, who was also a mathematician and in a way a mentor for Ashutosh, was the first Indian vice chancellor, and he was a judge in the Calcutta High Court. So Ashutosh Mukherjee was closely associated with the Calcutta University, and in 1904 he was appointed a judge of the Calcutta High Court, and of course shortly thereafter also as vice chancellor. I must also mention to you that I have had the good fortune of seeing Ashutosh Mukherjee's notes that he took down of counsel's argument. The
Okay.
very first day, 6th June 1904, he became a judge. I have seen his notes of 6th June 1904.
Okay.
Both beautiful books, handwritten
Wonderful. Wonderful.
counsel's
In fact,
arguments. And these are
collection of his
preserved.
books has been donated to the National Library.
Yes, it is there that Justice Asutosh Mukherjee took me and showed me around. So you have about 1 lakh books of his personal library on every conceivable subject under the sun. Some of those books were specially printed for him in England and sent down. You have it still. You have it in the National Library in Calcutta in the Ashutosh wing. Even this notes are preserved there. And there is an interesting incident we spoke of Sir Lawrence Jenkins.
Yes.
When Jenkins retired in 1915, Sir and Lady Jenkins came to Sir Ashutosh's home for tea, and then they went around seeing his library. The remarkable thing about that library was many rooms in that palatial house were stocked with books. There was no index, there was no catalogue. But Ashutosh knew exactly which book was where, even in a heap. And Lady Jenkins, it seems, was curious. She asked him, "Do you have a book on lion hunting by any chance?" Ashutosh just walked across, picked up the book, and handed it over to her.
Great.
So that was the kind of
Yes.
book collection that he had, and he knew everything. And books on lion hunting, books on astronomy, books on astrology, books on mathematics, of course, books on history. And let me also tell you at this moment, we all know of the great legendary book of Justice Cardozo, Nature of the Judicial Process.
Yes.
The Stoff's lectures he delivered in 1921, and I think it's in 1923 or 24 that the Yale University Law School published it as a book which we all treasure. In one of the last judgments that Sir Ashutosh delivered in 1923, Emperor versus Barinder Ghosh, you have a reference to Justice Cardozo's lectures, not yet printed then. So that was the range of his,
Yes.
of his knowledge
Yes.
and the information.
Profound.
Profound.
Yes. Now, you have mentioned a case where there was an intricate question of Mohammedan law involved in a matter, and Justice Sir Ashutosh was in the bench hearing that case. And something extraordinary that to decide that case, he picked up the knowledge of Arabic. Would you like to recount that episode?
Yes. Yeah. Before that, just one word about something that he did similar as a lawyer. Because as a lawyer, there was some case where he had to defend someone who was accused of stealing because of the goods that were in the steamer. Sir Ashutosh applied his knowledge of mathematics, the principles of hydrodynamics, to prove that the steamer could not have been at that place where it was alleged to be. With the time, it would have gone elsewhere, and therefore his client could not have been accused of that. Fortunately, the judge who was hearing was also a mathematician, and so it was easy for the counsel and the judge to be on the same wavelength and establish this. And when we mention of his learning
Arabic, this fine
it seems,
mention
yes,
on page 135.
yes, I'll come. It seems when he became a judge, that was the kind of standard he set for himself. So much so that a brother judge, Justice Rampine, if I am not mistaken, asked him, "How would you manage to do all this? Today you're young and you do this, but after some time you think you will be able." He said, "I will always try to do this. And the moment I feel that I am not able to have this standard of working, I'll quit. I'll not be on the bench." Coming to this case, there was some matter, question of Mohammedan law involved. The judgment was reserved because Sir Ashutosh thought it is better to see the original text instead of going by translations. And he was also Vice Chancellor of the Calcutta University, so he could always bank upon professors. So every evening, it seems, the professor of Arabic from the university would come to his home and teach him Arabic. So it took a couple of months for him to know that,
Master, yes.
mastered it,
To pick
and it
it
is
up.
then he read the original text of the Mohammedan law and then delivered judgment. So you can imagine the
Truly
kind of,
remarkable.
yes,
Truly
absolutely remarkable. And believe me, Justice Sudhesh Mukherjee told me that grandfather never burnt midnight oil even a single day in his life, whether as a student or as a judge. He never kept himself awake beyond 10:30 p.m. Of course, he was
He
up
was
by about,
able to, it was
yes,
something astounding. He was able to give qualities, attract sort of
yes,
focus
yes,
and concentration.
and evenings he never spent on his law. Judgments were all daytime.
Yes,
See, 9:30 he would go to court. Then, of course, early morning before that, time was spent on judgments and all that. Immediately after court, he would go to the university to work as the vice chancellor.
yes,
Then come home, then whatever. But after dinner, whatever time was spent, it was for mathematics and physics.
yes.
And judgments were so
That was
comprehensive,
his genius. Yes,
genius. In fact, on a lighter side, I must tell you, many years ago, Justice Ashutosh Mukherjee told me grandfather was very hardworking. I told him, sir, I very respectfully and totally disagree. I don't think if any one of us is as hardworking as that, we would be even a fraction of Sir Ashutosh. He was great and a genius. Industry was just one factor that perhaps helped him in his endeavor. So
thank
that
you.
was the man, and it is now you can appreciate that statement that he could have ruled over an empire.
Yes,
That is the tribute paid to him by Michael Sadler, who was the chairman of the Universities Commission that went into the reform of the Calcutta University
yes,
and other universities. So it was he who said that he could have ruled over an empire. So great was the man.
undoubtedly.
To
Yes,
complete about Sir Ashutosh, of course, law we all know, and vice chancellorship, and these were perhaps the greatest of his thing. But he was associated with every other activity. It's remarkable. He was the founder of the India Science Congress in
okay.
1914, which still,
Truly, truly,
yeah.
many cited
Now
it
you have the
better.
India Science Congress, if I'm not mistaken, it's always in the first week of January, immediately after the New Year, that they have their session. Yeah, and I remember a speech of Pandit Nehru in 1949 on the New Year's Eve. He said, "As the sun of the New Year rises, I leave Delhi on my way to the west.
Okay,
I make a short halt at Bombay,
right.
where I inaugurate the India Science Congress, and then proceed to London, where the Commonwealth Prime Ministers meet." I think this was
Yes,
the eve of the New Year 1950 or 51.
okay.
So that's the
Nehru,
India
yes,
Science Congress.
yes,
And he was associated with the founder of that. He was associated with the National Museum. You have the India Museum in Calcutta, one of the
yes,
oldest. He was associated with that. He was associated with what is then called the Imperial National Library. He was that. He was the president of the Sanskrit, whatever, Sangha, whatever it is. So there is hardly any walk of life, hardly any stream of human endeavor which Sir Ashutosh did
did
not touch.
not
Not only did not
catch
touch,
his
he
interest.
and decorate it. So that statement of Sir Michael Sadler is
Yes,
more than proved if you know this about Sir Ashutosh.